Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Tuesday edition of the program. It is Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. That means we'll be joined here in just a second by good old Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. Second portion of the show, we'll have our good friend Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. He's a beat writer for the Gators. Get his thoughts on what happened in the scrimmage on Sunday. I know we've been beating that drum for a long, long time. It's time to play some football. But first, let's go ahead and head on over to the Titan MR hotline, head down to Ocala. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. I'm doing all right, and I'm kind of feeling good about what I thought might happen a long time ago. And looks like, based on what we've seen today, and we'll talk about it later, this whole alliance thing is coming together.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about it right now. Fill everybody in if they've been living under a rock. Obviously, with the expansion of the SEC with OU and Texas, the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC have been talking about forming a, quote, alliance to kind of compete against the SEC. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. And there's a lot we don't know. It's sort of, as they say, making it up, going along with it last night. Apparently have agreed to this, according to two very good reporters at Yahoo, Dan Wetzel being one of them, and of course, Pete Thamel has been the leader on this the whole time. And it's what we've been talking about, predicted. And basically, you know, the term king's check. I don't play chess, but, Greg Sankey's got a king check when it comes to what the future is for the SEC. And in my opinion, it will end up being good for football because it gives us what we've been needing for a long time, which is more really top quality games. Hopefully, the SEC's got its situation, got its whole locked down. And now it's the rest of the guys on the outside looking in and saying, what happened here? Where did this go? And trying to make a power play, which is all the play they got left, is to form this coalition or alliance that we've been talking about for 30 years, where you get together and say, you get your guys, I get my guys, and we'll play. Now, the question becomes, what happens after there are 40 teams? I think you're going to have to be more because I'm not sure what the status is of certain teams like the service academies. We had no one's addressing them. Once again, the Big 12 left out in the cold. Some of those teams will probably be picked up. Don't know. But what's happened is the SEC against the world. Officially now, when they sign the contract, it will be the SEC, its teams, its 16 teams with Texas and Oklahoma added, versus 40-something teams from the other leagues, or in this so-called alliance, which is in the end where I thought things would wind up. And alliances are what they are, that you keep your identity, but you also have an association where you play other conferences. My understanding, based on the story this morning, is that everybody will be forced to play at least one team from the other alliance, like the Pac-12 is going to have to play one team from the SEC, etc. And that's how they mix and match that. Now, they say they want more of a voice in the playoffs. This is why we haven't heard much about the 12-team playoffs, because they haven't figured it out yet. They got their packages. It's sort of the anti-ESPN thing. It's the ESPN's got everybody. And by the way, the ACC signed a long-term deal with ESPN too, so they're kind of have to figure that out. And then you got the big boys in the Big Ten, which is the really powerhouse conference in terms of ratings, in terms of the top teams. And then, of course, you got the mysterious Pac-12, who has to get their act together. So now it's these 40-plus teams versus the 16. How they play it down. I mean, think about it, Shane. The SEC could do whatever it wants to do. It's like the 900-pound gorilla, because it doesn't need anybody. They could actually have a schedule, play each other, have their own playoff, and basically have a de facto national champion. which is how it winds up anyway, right? In the end, the SEC. So if Greg Sankey says, screw you guys, we don't need you. You're trying to freeze us out. We got ours. We'll play ours. We'll have two divisions. We'll have four teams in our playoff. We'll play the two semifinals and a final and play here, and then we'll declare ourselves national champion. So there's a lot to be worked out, but clearly the battle lines have been drawn. It's about TV contracts. It's about eyeballs on TV. It's about college football needing money and all those things. So it's happening, and why should we be surprised? We've seen more cataclysmic change in the last 18 months of college football than all the years combined. Just one more step toward a junior NFL, if you want to call it that. But it's about television, eyeballs, and about having healthy conferences, having money in the bank to be able to have teams. It's happening. The alliance is here.
Yeah. What I don't understand is, okay, so you got these three conferences, and it's all, like you said, it's all based on television. Mm-hmm. Well, the rights owned to the ACC, ESPN has those rights. Mm-hmm. Okay, ESPN has pretty much the rights to the SEC. The Big Ten and Pac-12 are pretty much Fox. So I still don't understand. Okay, so they're going to get more people to watch Clemson play USC one game a year, and then Clemson plays the rest of their games in the ACC like they normally do. Mm-hmm. I don't see how that's a huge difference. I mean, because right now, Ohio State, I believe, is playing Oregon this year. So we're going to watch that game, and then we're going to go back to watching what we normally do. Help me understand how this works.
Well, it works like this, is that Greg Sankey has his ticket punched. Doesn't matter what anybody else does. Any way you want to play it. I mean, look, let's get radical. Let's say there was a big division. They pulled out. They don't belong to the NCAA, which aren't going to anyway. And you say, okay, fine. We're going to play our league, and you guys play yours, and we'll see you later. Well, if they went back to the old, I'm just saying, this is theoretical now. Let's say nothing worked. Everybody pulled out. We're not going to play. In the end, if they said, well, you guys play and we'll play, we'll see what happens. Well, the SEC would come up with its top team, and then the other guys would come with their top team and say, okay, let's go back to the days before Shane played when there was just two teams playing for a national championship. We'll play you down. Let's go. There's lots of ways it can be carved up. It's about the money. The 12-team playoff is a lot of money. Here's the thing. What can you do in terms of money during the regular season? Because let's be honest, Shane, the college football stadium experience is dwindling now for a lot of people. The attendance has been declining slightly every year. As much as I'd like to say it's not, it is. The stadium experience is not really what people seem to want as much. You can still get your 50, 60, 70,000, but you still have to have good schedules during the year. Well, the SEC would have a great schedule during the year. Just go back to playing 10 SEC teams like they did. Now, what happens from there, what the big battle is about is a 12-team playoff. That's where the money comes. And that's when the other guys figure they'll get a piece of that. And Sankey will say, okay, we'll play 4, we'll play 12. How many of y'all want to do it? Fine, we're good. But the other team is scrambling to get control because it's ESPN against the world, the SEC against the world. Let's see who wins. And there's a lot to be worked out. But it might bring about this playoff change, all the stuff sooner rather than later. I heard last night, I'll have him on later, Matt Hayes say to Paul Feinbaum, who's on my show Friday, by the way, that this is going to change next year. They're not going to wait. They're going to do this. They're going to go ahead and do it. So it's immediate. They're talking about now that all of a sudden in 2022, we've got a completely different kind of game there. So I don't understand all of it. I just read their Yahoo story, but it's basically about money, TV rankings, and who else is going to play in this super conference, which is where it's going. It's going to go to those, like I hate to say, pat myself on the back, I wrote 31 years ago, 60, 65, 66 teams in the super conference, separated by geographical region, and then you like basketball. And then you come together at the end and play a tournament. That's how I've seen it before, how I see it now, and I think this is what's happening.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think when it's all said and done, I don't care how many TV contracts they have and what kind of alliance they form. 12-team playoff, it's going to be the same teams pretty much year in and year out.
It probably will.
I don't care where they're playing. It's the SEC is going to have more than this alliance playing in the 12-team playoff, and I don't know what makes them think that them forming this alliance is going to help them in the 12-team playoff. I don't understand.
Shane, what do they have left? It's king check. They have no other move.
Right, but even if they don't make that move, it's still going to be the same. That's what I'm not smart enough to understand. I know it's about TV dollars, but I still don't understand. You form this alliance, the same amount of people are going to watch whether you're in this alliance or not when Ohio State plays Oregon. Just because they form this alliance ain't going to make more people watch it, is what I'm trying to say. And maybe I'm just looking at it wrong and not understanding it. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. I'm sure I'm not alone that I would watch an SEC game versus a better West Coast or Northern game. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on where you live. I mean, I remember all the years I was in Chicago, buddy, and now this was before every TV in college. I mean, every game in college was on TV. Nowadays, no matter where you are, you can watch your team. But it was almost impossible to get an SEC game on up in that Midwest area because they had the Notre Dame game on and then they had their Big Ten game on. But I'm with Dan. No matter where, I would much rather watch an SEC game over Cal versus Wisconsin.
It doesn't matter though, Shane. You're forgetting there's more than one game, and you can have there's room for all. You're going to tell me that if the USC's playing Oregon in an important game that at night on after the SEC teams have played, that you wouldn't tune it over and watch? Of course you would.
No, I would watch it. But what I'm saying is, maybe I'm not understanding correctly, they're only going to play like one out of conference game.
Well,
right?
Let me check on that. That's how I read it real quick this morning.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand what the big deal is. So now, if they're going to play 5 games of, 5 Pac-12 opponents versus, on your regular schedule, you got 5 Big Ten teams rolling into town. Okay, that's something different. But we play Florida State every year. It's a big game. It's ACC versus SEC.
Right.
So, if you have Southern Cal playing Wisconsin, and then Southern Cal playing Michigan, and Southern Cal playing Notre Dame, and Southern Cal playing Clemson. Okay, we're talking different now. We're talking these are big games week in and week out. I don't see that happen because Clemson still got to play Wake Forest and all those teams.
Well, they'll get to see those teams. Here, let me read you what the story says. Under a plan, the Big Ten could drop its conference schedule from 9 games to 8 and require each school to play 1 game against an ACC and Pac-12 team each year. So those 2 games. Wisconsin, for example, will play Virginia and Oregon 1 year, Florida State and UCLA the next. Big Ten schools will be allowed to schedule additional non-conference games. If adopted, the Big Ten's conference season will consist of 6 games within either the East or West Division and 2 crossover games. ACC teams which already play 8 conference games will play a Big Ten and Pac-12 opponent. And this is the key part. The ACC adding value to its television rights is the tricky part, as it's stuck in a lopsided deal with ESPN to 2036. The Pac-12, which currently has 9 league games, considered dropping down to 8, or just 2 of the 3 non-conference. Any Big Ten or Pac-12 team already playing Notre Dame, which has its own scheduling deal with the ACC, would be able to count the Irish as its ACC opponent. So there's a little background for you. There's a lot to be worked out, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not a matter of, I'm not as interested in that game, but this is just part of this. There's more parts of the country than just the Southeast.
No, I totally get that. I'm just saying, in order for this alliance to be intriguing, I think they're going to have to play multiple, not just one from one game out of conference. I think they need to play multiple games, or it's a waste of time.
I agree with you, and I think it will happen. I think because the schedules are all going to change, apparently, Shane, real quick. And I'm with you. And I think this is where we have to go to that concept of think of the country, 4 regional divisions or alliances like we've seen. They're divided, and they play within their own division, and then they play a tournament. And that way, what they do in California will matter to what they do in Chicago. It will be a national, in my opinion, this is my opinion, a national college football conference. The NCAA will be long gone. There'll be a new group guiding it, and there's enough firepower. Now, the question becomes then what happens to the others, the so-called mid-majors, the rest of the Pac-12, etc. There's even room in this country for another level of college football, like we used to have Division I, Division II. This could be there'll be another mid-major, AAC, what do you want to call it, put together their own deal. Now, they won't get the tournament probably, but they can still make money and still there's plenty of room on the schedule. The good thing about this is it discourages these cream puff games. It now would take care of the open dates and the meaningless bowls in the fall or in December when they have all these meaningless bowls. Every game will be in a tournament, and these opt-outs would go away probably. So there's a lot of good things that could come out of this.
Yep, we shall see. If you've got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule a free consultation at QC Kinetics. Give them a call. It's 352-400-4550. Speaking with Buddy Martin here on the Titan MR Hotline. All right, buddy. Let's switch gears a little bit for a second. And did you watch the Jaguars last night?
I did till about the last quarter when everything happened. I finally turned it off. It's just hard to watch preseason NFL football. And I saw a few good things. There's a couple of clear things. I mean, it's hard to tell about a preseason game, but clearly Urban's got to develop a running game. Two members of the starting offensive line were out last night. Lawrence had a moment or two, but obviously it was the third string quarterback in the fourth quarter that brought him back and made the game close. I went to bed not knowing it was a close game, but really, again, I'm like you. I don't put too much in what's close because you can't tell who C.J. Beathard was throwing against. I didn't look at the roster, so I think it was encouraging that they made it competitive because for the first three quarters it wasn't even competitive. And I think I raised the question to myself this morning, being realistic, although I think he will be successful eventually, is that Urban's having the Bowling Green experience with this. It's a lot harder probably than he realized, but if he can stick it out and hang in there, he knows enough football, and he's a good coach. He's a great coach. They'll win. It's going to be a long, hard road for the Jaguars.
Yeah, they're not a very good football team. I think Urban's a great coach. Time will tell what happens here. But I'm anxious to see. They've played two preseason games, and things haven't gone great. And he's not used to not executing and looking sharp. You know what I mean, right, buddy?
Exactly.
I'm just concerned how that might wear on him because I don't see the Jaguars winning more than 4 games this year. Now, the NFL, anything can happen, but they just don't have great talent on that team. They got some good young players, but a lot of the experts said in free agency they didn't address a lot of issues. However, you can't force guys. It's just like in recruiting. You can't force guys to go play for you. You can throw a lot of money at them, but they still may want to go somewhere else. So we'll see. But the Jags, I think, are going to have a long year. We got a Facebook Live question here, buddy. You may know the answer to this. Chris asked, and we're going back to talking about, I think, the cupcake games. Chris says, what about the line that Jeremy Foley used to always say that we have to be able to host 2 games from teams that didn't require a return visit to break even?
No. That's the old days. That's the old way because you're going to pay through the nose with your schedule and you're cheating your fans. I mean, let's be honest. What kind of deal they get? Look, sports tickets are so ridiculously expensive. I've looked at some Rays baseball tickets the other day because my grandson likes to go once in a while just to see what was what. And general admission is like $85. I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why nobody shows up for the Rays.
Well, maybe so, but I mean, there are deals to be had. But I mean, that's what the going price is. Last time I went with them, they took me to the game, and I could have got the press schedule. They paid $200 per ticket to get one of those box seats up where the box and the food are. I mean, it's just, and then what you pay to be for Gator tickets is they're having to suck a little wind right now on that because they're exorbitantly priced, and the middleman, the working man, is priced out. And I think that's the problem we're talking about right now, which I hate to see that happen in college football, but that's what's going to happen with the Super Conference. So where do you go to get the experience? You got to go to another venue, another kind of ball, maybe minor leagues. I don't know. There's where maybe the mid-majors could come into play. Maybe they could do it. But Jeremy Foley, look, I say it before, I say it again. This is not charity, okay? You want charity, go to the March Times, whatever it may be. I love the March Times, by the way. But this is big boy football for big dollars. If you're paying the price you're paying as a season ticket holder, you deserve to have quality games. You can't have those cream puff games. You can't have them.
Who is Florida's cream puff game this year?
Well, they got one at the end of the year. It's
I'm trying. I can't remember.
It's the next last game. I'll tell you in a second, but it's 7. Of course, they got the state universities. I'm all for that. Playing South Florida and all that sort of stuff. That's good. UCF, etc. But their schedule, I don't have it in front of me. There's an 11th game. So somebody's got it in front of them. Somebody will tell you. It's a really meaningless game.
I'm curious too, buddy, with how you're talking about, nobody wants the cupcake games, which I agree with that. However, I still would be curious if you polled all college football fans across the country. Let's just say the Gators had a 12-game schedule. You got 8 or 9 SEC games. You got Florida State thrown in there. Let's say USC rolls to the Swamp. Florida travels to Wisconsin. Okay, you got no cupcakes. I'm still curious how many season ticket holders or just people who enjoy going to games would still go, because all the games are on TV now. We talk about how the times have changed. Yeah, they changed, because back when I played, we had about 2 or 3 games on TV, and they were at 1 o'clock, and everybody showed up. Because if you weren't there, you didn't get to see it. You may get to see a highlight or two on ESPN or ABC or something. So I'm just curious, because things have changed in the world, how you can watch a game in your recliner, in the AC, and you can watch anybody, where back in the day you couldn't. So I'm just curious if people would still buy a lot of tickets if you had no cupcakes on your schedule. Does that make any sense at all?
It does, but that ship has sailed already. People are opting out to watch in their comfort of their home, and especially when you start playing football in August. Go back to the old schedule days where the football season started the 3rd week of September, and then you got a couple of games in Sonomass. And this has been happening for quite some time. This is not new. People have been opting out for their recliners now for 7 or 8 years. And you're right. Who wouldn't rather sit in a cool 70-degree room in your easy chair with a cold in your hand and be able to flip around and watch different games all over the country? Well, there's no break at halftime to go here. It's a much better experience. It's an all day. I watch it 10 hours every Saturday, sometimes more. And I get a free ticket. I can go watch anytime I want to. And so that game, by the way, is Samford.
Sanford,
Sanford, not Stanford, Sanford, right?
Yeah, that's the out of Birmingham. Lauren says the 2 cupcakes, cream puffs, are Sanford and FSU.
No, Lauren, I know how you're thinking, brother. So, but it's not happening. But so we'll see. Hope I got the right schedule in front of me. I think it's correct. Anyway, there's a lot. There's a lot of different kind of choices being made right now in college sports. Unfortunately, much of it is propelled by greed. I understand everybody wants to get theirs and all that sort of stuff. I know that, we all want our teams to do well, et cetera, and that's fine. But this is business now. This is not your average everyday kind of football. This is big bucks, big boy football, and let's play it. Let's play the 65 or 66, but don't give up the second tier. I think there's room for a second tier, a good second tier. I mean, who would not want UCF in a market like Orlando, right? If you want eyeballs, somebody's got to look at them and say, well, they play decent football. They got them playing pretty well down there. They got a big TV market. Let's maybe ought to look at what Orlando's got to offer versus Kansas. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right, buddy. Real before we let you go, I know you were Coach Mullen had his press conference. Gosh, I don't remember if it was Sunday or Monday.
Monday.
Tell us what came out of that.
Well, I want to play this clip if I got time. It's only about a minute, but that's from last week. But he's very positive. He talked a lot about the positive experience. He talked about how he felt, that there was depth to be decided. He's working on his 5th, 6th, 7th position. Special teams are important. Loves the way the running backs are playing. And, of course, his offensive line, contrary to opinion, is doing okay. But here's the moment I wanted to play. Last week, during the presser, the Zoom conference, all of a sudden this voice came over the sound, and it was the news, what's happening in Afghanistan, and Mullen was stunned. Here's how it looked.
I do. I think you see the things with that those guys and the timing they have, the work they put in. Emory's obviously, one of the things we're always on him is consistency of performance, but you also have to play to his strengths, and one of the things, I mean, he has some. He had
into Kabul delivering our troops and hauling cargo. This is an important point. The numbers today are in.
There we go. Oh, I thought you guys were going to get. Hey, that's one of those above my pay grade type deals again, man. I'm just coaching some football right now.
But back to the timing stuff you've noticed.
I think one of the big things with Emory is it is, and I think he's going to make some explosive plays out there, and you want kind of consistency and efficiency all the time, and that might not be his game every play, he's going to miss some things here and there, but he's going to make some explosive things on the other side of it. If that makes sense, all of a sudden you're like, boy, we got to hit that 90% of the time, and he might be in the 80% of the times hitting something. But there's other things he can do that is so electric and that he can create that you don't want to kind of box him in. You want to let him play to his strengths. Obviously, I think his timing with the guys have got better. His control and understanding of the offense, his reads, I think, have gotten much better of where he's going with the ball. And then his ability to create and make plays is pretty special.
So that's what happens, Shane, when you hear something like that. And, of course, Dan's got that go-to line. I'm just a football coach. What do I know about my pay grade? It was kind of funny in a way, and that little clip there, a little humor for a change. And by the way, Tony Finau finally has done it. This is his first win on soil, American soil, because his last and only win was Puerto Rico. So he wins the Northern Trust, and he's got the game, and he's one of many young players out there that are going to make some noise.
Yeah, I don't know I don't have the standings in front of me, but that had to put him way up there in the FedEx Cup for the $10 million or whatever that continues next week in the playoffs. But yeah, I was watching some of the golf yesterday, buddy. I was amazed at how they got that course ready with all the rain. And then John Rahm was running away with it, and I had to go do some stuff. And then I checked back later, and Tony Finau beat Cameron Smith in a playoff.
Yeah, that's good. Congratulations to Tony Finau. I'm sure back there in the control room right now, Evan's pulling his teeth out thinking, you guys are going long here. You got a big guest coming up here. So I will say this to you, Shane. I'll talk to you again on the program soon. All right. Thanks very much for having me on. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Be good, buddy. That's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. You can check his show out Monday through Friday, about 9 p.m. Eastern time on Facebook Live. It's the Buddy Martin Show. We're going to take our first time out of the program. We come back. We'll be joined by Florida Gator beat writer from the Orlando Sentinel, Edgar Thompson, talking a little Gator football. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmett Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They're getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmett. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Le Macaron French Pastries, International Diamond Center, and the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by Florida Gator beat writer from the Orlando Sentinel, Mr. Edgar Thompson. Good morning, Edgar. How are you, buddy?
Hey, guys. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know you were I appreciate you taking the time. I know you were very busy this morning on Mike Bianchi's show down in Orlando. Y'all were talking about a lot of the Gator athletes being vaccinated, correct?
Yeah, that was one of the topics for sure, because I spoke with Scott Strickland last Friday. He was generous enough with his time. Tell you, that guy's on a hectic schedule. So when he can squeeze in 30 minutes for you, it's very nice of him. And he mentioned how the Gators were more than 90% vaccinated, which is pretty impressive. The SEC has set this threshold for 85% vaccination rates required of teams, or you have to test daily, or not daily, regularly, and wear face coverings, et cetera, in facilities. Though I think UF is requiring face coverings indoor now because of the Delta variant surge, just in general, the campus. But so that was pretty impressive. And then I asked Dan about it yesterday, because one of Scott's comments, Shane, which I thought was pretty apropos, was, hey, this is a good example for everyone. Where are we at? 60% is a state, or 65% or something. I mean, I'm not sure what it is. But if you're going to pack the swamp, if you're coming to that Alabama game on September 18th, which I assume is going to be a raucous environment. I mean, it's going to be an incredible, scene, I would think. I mean, wouldn't you want to be vaccinated?
Yeah. Speaking of that, has there been any talk on campus, or when you talk to Strickland? I've had a couple people ask me on the show and just walking around town. Are you required to wear a mask at the swamp? Do you have to show a vaccination card or any of that kind of stuff?
No, mask mandates and vaccine passports, as they call them, are not a thing in Florida at all. You've seen all the battles going on in the schools, right, in South Florida about masking and all this. It's become so contentious. It's not even really worth getting into, because I don't even know where I stand on all this stuff, man. I don't have children in school, so I don't know where I would be. But the point being is they can't require that here, and they're not going to require it. If people are wanting to wear a mask, obviously they're not going to be discouraged from doing it. But on UF campus, I believe you are required indoors to wear a mask, though. They can't require vaccine mandates, so even with the student population.
Has there been any talk just to be safe? Because when football started back last year, the athletes didn't go to class at all. Edgar, everything was done online, and now I think the athletes are back in class. Has there been any talk just to be safe, maybe having the athletes do online again?
Did I read in the Gainesville Sun, and I'm not positive, Shane, I saw it on a tweet. I didn't dig in on this. Are the first few weeks of class online? Now, forgive my ignorance to anyone listening if I'm wrong there, but I did read that they were, at least it was being considered moving the first few weeks overall online for everyone. So I'm not positive on all that, but yes, I have a feeling that this football player is going to be exposed as little as possible. Though Dan did, he was asked, David Whitley, the columnist of the Gainesville Sun, asked him what his message is, if he, encouraged, players not to socialize and, get out of their bubble. And he's like, look, man, these are like kids enjoying the college experience. I'm not putting rules down on them. We are educating them and encouraging them to be safe. You're not going to keep a 20-year-old dude from not going out. You kidding me?
No, it's impossible. Hey, Chris Storing Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Edgar Thompson on the Titan Moore Hotline. All right, Edgar, let's talk a little football. I'll be honest with you, I'm exhausted talking about scrimmages and what this guy could bring to the town. I'm ready to watch some games. You know what I mean?
I do. I thought you were going to say exhausted to my COVID because I'm there on COVID. Even
well, that as well. So obviously people want to talk about the quarterback. This is Emory Jones' team, but we know Anthony Richards is a very talented kid who's played well in scrimmages. I think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to start unless Emory just stinks it up the first couple of games, which I don't think he will. Just talk a little bit about what you've gotten out of Mullen from the quarterback position.
He has a lot of confidence in Emory Jones. Obviously, he's known this kid, as we talked about last, I think, show, since he was like a sophomore in high school. Emory, I did an interview with Emory, sat down with him, 6 weeks ago, roughly. He said he went over, he had a broken foot at the time, I believe. He went to Mississippi State for a visit and was in the room with Brian Johnson, who was 25 years old probably then. This is a long time ago. Dak Prescott and Dan Mullen. That's a pretty impressive little trio there, right? So he sat with them and talked and was very impressed. And they just talked to him about, how they were going to develop him if he chose them and his whatever. Anyway, he ends up committing to Ohio State. And then the minute Dan got the job here, in fact, I have a story coming out Sunday in our football section. We still actually do a football section that's coming out in the Sentinel on Sunday with tons of info on all the programs statewide, but as a little promotion. But anyway, so Emory said the first thing he did was text Dan Mullen when he got that job on the 27th of November, 2017. And he said, I want to be your quarterback. So here we are 4 years later almost. It's finally happening. So Emory is ready for this opportunity. I think Dan's ready to play Emory. But it is interesting. Anthony Richardson, by all accounts, is playing quite well. He's an incredible physical specimen. You know that. You coached against him, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 3 years. Maybe 4 years.
I think you told me, if I recall correctly, that, it was like his accuracy, his completion percentage, and all these things were bad. They weren't good. They were in the 40s or whatever. But he was also playing. Yeah, he was playing on a bad team, wasn't he?
Yeah, another thing against them, but they weren't very good. But that's my only concern. And from things that I've seen and people I've talked to, his accuracy has improved dramatically. Yeah. And I've said many times, Edgar, and maybe I've said it to you, I think Florida has a chance to be really good on offense in a different way than they were last year. But Emory, and then when Anthony plays, they've got to complete the throws that are what I consider easy completions. Everybody, if you watch preseason football, and I'm going to use this guy for an example because he's a great talent, Trey Lance. I don't know if you saw any of his highlights. I haven't. He has a tremendous arm, okay? But throwing a shallow cross at 100 miles an hour that a guy can't catch does you no good as a quarterback. A quarterback's job is to throw completions. And we both know Emory and Anthony have great arms, but when you have that shallow cross or the back out of the backfield or a guy in the flat, throw it where he can catch it and throw it accurately. If they do that with their running ability and with Dan scheming up, I think this offense can be damn good.
Okay, so it's funny because you and I are both older, and the things change. The outlook has changed, but the game of football has changed a lot in our lifetimes, even in the last 10 years at the NFL level. It's all geared toward. I just read a Dan Pompei story, longtime Chicago sports writer, terrific, on Dan Marino. And Jeff Pearlman retweeted it. And Jeff Pearlman has written multiple books, terrific talent. And he said best he ever saw was Dan Marino. I'm there. He's my favorite quarterback of all time. Best pure passer I ever saw. Well, no one will even say that now. Would even consider that, right? That Dan Marino was the best because you have Brady, you have Mahomes, you have Rodgers, you have this. It's all this recency bias, right? John Elway, a lot of people were like greatest ever when he retired because he capped it off with 2 Super Bowls. John Elway could not complete a screen pass his first years. He threw the ball way too hard. You remember that, right? He would just fire like an 8-yard slant like he was throwing a 70-yard pass. You got to have touch. You got to be accurate. So I don't know where Anthony Richardson's game is right now, but it sounds like he's developed quite a bit, was where I was leading. And we just haven't seen anything, but we saw a couple of murmurings from the scrimmage the other day. Apparently looked great. So I'm not saying Emory's going to be looking over his shoulder, but he's going to have to play well. And that should be the requirement anyway, right? You don't just keep a guy playing. Driscoll was just looking terrible at times and they just kept playing him there've just been guys here. I don't need to go through the whole litany. There have been bad quarterback play. Felipe, right? Mm-hmm. There's been some bad quarterback play here until Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask erased a lot of bad memories for people, right? There's like a decade of really poor quarterback play. And how long do you stick with a guy? How long when do you put the hook in? I don't think that's going to be the case with Emory, but we'll have to see. But Anthony Richardson is going to be waiting for his shot. And I do think Dan's going to use both of them somewhat, don't you? I expect there's going to be some Anthony Richardson packages.
Yeah, definitely. And, this is Dan's first year. He actually has all quarterbacks that he recruited. You mentioned Felipe and Trask. He didn't recruit those guys. But, back to your Dan Marino, I was a youngster, but I watched him. I think the best pure passer to ever play in the National Football League is Aaron Rodgers. I don't think it's close, personally.
Okay. Hey, that's me, man.
That's me. But let me tell you something. This Zach Wilson kid, he is. I loved him since he was a freshman at BYU. And boy, to see that ball come out of his hand naturally, he's a great thrower of the football too. Back to the Gators, Edgar.
Well, I trust you on that stuff, Shane. Come on.
Well, everybody has their own opinion, right? But
I just loved watching Marino. He just had a competitiveness about him I just loved. But hey, look, technically and all that, Rodgers is insane, the throws that guy can make and the way he moves. Marino was a statue.
Yeah. Back to the Gators from a physical standpoint, pretty healthy football team during training camp.
Yeah, by all accounts, it sounds as if, but Jaden Hill could be a big injury. The secondary is really on the spot. In fact, we're getting these new secondary coaches the next couple of nights. I think we get night access coming up. I think we're getting McGriff and Montanier. And I asked Dan how that was all going with those guys, and he made an interesting comment that makes me wonder what the dynamic with Gray and English was. He says these guys are really on the same page with how to run the secondary. I'm not saying that there was an implication there that Gray and English were doing their own things and the unit wasn't like collaborative. But, you got a lot of moving parts back there, and those guys need to be on the same page. And losing Jaden Hill, a veteran guy who was really starting to come into his own as last season progressed, is a blow. And it's going to put a kid out there, maybe Jason Marshall, this 5-star kid from Miami, who I'm eager to see how he plays. I mean, he sounds like he's got tons of potential. Who's going to end up on the other side from Kyrie Elam? Because you got to feel that spot secure. Who's going to end up on the other side from him? You got these transfers, Perkins and the Elijah, forget his name now.
Elijah Blades.
Yeah, it's a cool name. Those two guys are coming in as transfers. We just haven't seen these guys. I mean, forgive my ignorance. It's like you're not at practice. It's hard to just look at a roster, and remember. I mean, Blades just got here. The safety play is going to be on the spot big time. I mean, come on. The last 2 years, it was bad. I mean, last year was awful, and 19 it was bad. So how's that all going to unfold? Is Trey Dean finally going to live up to his promise in his 4th season? I like Torrance, what I saw last year. I mean, you're going to need another guy to emerge back there. I don't know who that's going to be. Trevez Johnson, I think, is playing the star. I'm intrigued by him. I think he showed some flashes last year. He was awfully undersized, but he's put on some weight. Looks like he's filled out. That's a spot that is a huge question mark. But in terms of injuries otherwise, I mean, we haven't been hearing anything. I mean, Cox sounds like he's getting back to full speed after his foot injury. DeMarcus Bowman's 100% after sitting out much of the spring with a knee injury. So that's a good sign when you're coming out of summer practice is healthy.
Yeah, very true. Last thing for you, Edgar. You mentioned Bowman, the running back room. Has Dan, I mean, there's a lot of dudes in there, man. There's 2 5-stars that really have done nothing for the Gators. We know what Pierce can do. We know what Malik Davis. We know what Naquan Wright. How are we going to keep everybody happy?
It's a big question. I think that Davis has got the third down role because of his pass catching ability. He's a very natural pass catcher, as we saw against Georgia. For one, he's just wheel routing that team to death. Dan did. I like Naquan Wright's instincts a lot. Right? I thought he showed some flashes. I looked at his stats and was like, that's all he did. I mean, when he had the ball in his hands, it stood out to me. Damian Pierce, he's busted off some big runs, but he lacks a little bit of a dynamic element to me. But, if he's going to pick you up those tough 3-4 yards, I mean, you need that. But, yeah, Bowman and Lingard are wild cards. I haven't seen these guys hardly at all. Lingard, I think it sounds as if he's picked up the elements of the offense and responsibilities that kept him off the field last year, whether that's pass protection, knowing, hitting the right hole, using his blockers. I asked Dan about Lingard, and he made it sound like the kid is definitely doing what's asked of him more and not just trying to just get away with his natural ability, which is considerable, I think. Bowman's probably in the same boat now. I mean, he's got to learn the offense, learn those nuances. These guys talk about pass protection all the time with these running backs. You would know a lot more about this than I, but that's something they emphasize here, man. You can't have a running back who's just standing back there whiffing on linebackers blitzing and things, or you got real problems.
Yep. Edgar, before we let you go, you did a big story on Coach Spurrier's restaurant. Tell us a little bit about it. Did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Coach Spurrier's restaurant. Didn't you do a big story on it?
I think it's gonna run tomorrow. I'm hoping. I wrote it about a week ago. Really enjoyed it. The place is phenomenal. In fact, I went on the opening day just because a friend of mine invited me. She had 4 spots and needed a 4th. So I tell you, the desserts and the coffee are fantastic. I'll say that. That's what I ate, and it was awesome. But the place is just, I mean, it's incredible. The museum's awesome. All the photos of Coach. I mean, it just the vibe of the whole place is amazing. It's been quite an undertaking, and I definitely encourage anyone to go check it out. But the coolest part about it, Shane, and people won't be able to see this quite yet, I don't think, because I don't think Visors, which is the upstairs bar, is quite open yet, is the wallpaper, man, right? In the bathrooms where Coach Spurrier drew up all the plays. We might have talked about this on the show, I think, but there's all the ball plays. Like, I think there's 25, 30 plays up on the walls of the bathrooms, and including some plays that you made. And his recall is incredible. It's like they were like, hey, yeah, he just went sat down with a pad and just drew up a bunch of plays from 30 years ago to the every little detail in them. So it's going to be a real treat. Anybody who's a big Gator fan and Spurrier fan is just they're going to be in heaven over there.
There's no question about it. It is a cool place for sure. Well, Edgar, be safe, my man. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and we'll talk to you as the season cranks up.
Thanks for having me, Shane. See you guys.
Yep, that's Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Going to take our final time out of the program, come back, wrap up this Tuesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp is now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus. Give Comfort Temp a call, 352-376-2366. This day in sports in 2006. After signing a one-day contract with the San Francisco 49ers, the greatest receiver of all time, Jerry Rice, officially retires from the National Football League. That's brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll have JC. We'll also have Ivan Mazel, who covers college football. Been doing it for many, many years. Will join us on the Titan MR hotline. Make sure you tell all your friends and family to follow our program on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any podcast platform there is. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.